That green canister of Parmesan on your shelf, the one that says 100% Parmesan cheese, may contain up to 8.8% cellulose. Cellulose is the structural component of wood. It is used in grated cheese as an anti-caking filler, and the FDA does not require it to be prominently disclosed when it appears on a label that says the product is 100% cheese. You are going to find out which 5 Parmesan brands tested positive for cellulose filler, what the actual percentages were, what happened to the company at the center of the fraud case, and 3 alternatives that contain real cheese and nothing else. The evidence comes from a Bloomberg News independent laboratory investigation in 2016, an FDA investigation that resulted in criminal charges and a federal class action lawsuit filed in New York. Here is the mechanism. The FDA permits cellulose, derived from wood pulp, to be added to grated and shredded cheese as an anti-caking agent at a level of 2 to 4% by weight. This is the acceptable range. The FDA classifies cellulose as generally recognized as safe. The problem is that Parmesan is expensive to produce. A wheel of genuine Parmigiano Reggiano takes years to cure and has a lower yield than other cheeses. When producers substitute cellulose for actual cheese content, they reduce costs significantly while maintaining volume. The FDA investigated a Pennsylvania company called Castle Cheese Inc. after receiving a tip that they were filling products labeled 100% real Parmesan with a mixture of Swiss, mozzarella, white cheddar, and cellulose. The FDA's July 2013 warning letter to Castle Cheese stated that cellulose and starch were added to increase the product's bulk and weight, a specific violation of adulteration laws. Castle Cheese filed for bankruptcy. Its president, Michelle Murder, pleaded guilty to federal criminal charges and faced up to 1 year in prison and a $100,000 fine. The fraud is documented, prosecuted, and on record. Kraft Parmesan. A Bloomberg News laboratory test found Kraft Parmesan cheese contained 3.8% cellulose. The FDA acceptable ceiling is 4%, meaning Kraft was at the top of what is technically allowed, but the product is labeled 100% grated Parmesan cheese. Multiple class action lawsuits were filed against Kraft Heinz in federal courts in Illinois, New York, Missouri, and California following the Bloomberg investigation. Kraft disputed the findings and said its product met regulatory standards. The lawsuits alleged that labeling the product as 100% Parmesan when it contains plant fiber is consumer fraud, regardless of whether the fiber is technically legal. Walmart, Great Value Parmesan. Bloomberg's lab test found Walmart's Great Value 100% grated Parmesan cheese contains 7.8% cellulose, nearly double the FDA's acceptable ceiling. A class action lawsuit was filed against Walmart in Manhattan federal court by plaintiff Mark Moschetta. The suit alleged the 100% Parmesan label was false and mischaracterized the amount of actual cheese in the container. Walmart stated it takes the matter seriously and was reviewing its supplier. Whole Foods, 3 in 65 grated Parmesan. Bloomberg's lab found 0.3% cellulose, despite the product's label not listing cellulose as an ingredient at all. That is a labeling violation. A product cannot contain an ingredient that is not disclosed on its label, regardless of the amount. Whole Foods 365 is marketed to consumers specifically looking for transparency and quality. Finding an undisclosed additive in that product is a particularly pointed outcome. Belgioioso pre-grated. Pre-grated and shredded Parmesan cheeses from this otherwise respected Wisconsin cheesemaker contain cellulose in their pre-grated formats. This is important. Belgioioso makes genuinely good Parmesan in block form. The problem is specific to their pre-grated packaged variety, which requires anti-caking agents for shelf stability. Sargento grated. Sargento's pre-grated Parmesan contains cellulose listed in the ingredients. Unlike some brands that attempt to obscure it, Sargento discloses the cellulose on the label, but a product advertising itself as Parmesan with an ingredient derived from wood pulp as a visible component is still worth understanding before you buy. Now, 3 tests you can run at home. First, the clump test. Take a small pinch of pre-grated Parmesan from the container and squeeze it between 2 fingers. Real freshly grated cheese will crumble and separate. Cellulose-heavy Parmesan will compact into a paste and hold its shape under pressure. The cellulose is what prevents caking in the shaker bottle, and that same property causes it to bind together when you squeeze it. Second, the burn test. This sounds extreme, but it is genuinely revealing. Take a small pinch and hold it with metal tweezers over a lighter or candle flame. Real cheese melts and bubbles. Cellulose burns like paper. It chars and blackens faster than it melts because it is essentially plant fiber. If you see your Parmesan burning rather than melting, you have a high cellulose product. Third, and the simplest, most foolproof solution, buy it in block form. Cellulose is added to pre-grated cheese to prevent caking in storage. A block of cheese does not need anti-caking agents. When you grate it yourself, you know exactly what is in it. No filler, no wood pulp, just cheese. Parmigiano Reggiano DOP in block form. The real thing. European DOP, Protected Designation of Origin, is a legally enforceable certification. To carry the DOP label, Parmigiano Reggiano must be produced in the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy using methods that have been legally defined and independently audited since 1934. No fillers are permitted anywhere in the process. The wheel is stamped with the certification. You can find it at most grocery stores and specialty cheese counters for $15 to $25 per pound. When you grate it yourself, you get pure cheese with nothing added. Belgioioso, freshly grated Parmesan without cellulose. Belgioioso offers a line of freshly grated Parmesan that specifically states no cellulose added. This is the distinction between their fresh and pre-packaged shredded formats. Look for the freshly grated designation and confirm no cellulose on the ingredient list. Available at Whole Foods, Costco, and most major grocers for $8 to $12. Murray's Parmigiano Reggiano. Murray's cheese sources DOP certified Parmigiano Reggiano from Italy and sells it in block form at Kroger locations nationwide. It is the imported DOP product with wide retail distribution. Available for around $16 to $22 per pound, this is the accessible version of the real thing for shoppers who use standard grocery chains. The Castle Cheese criminal case established that fraud in the Parmesan market is not theoretical. It happened, it was prosecuted, and the Bloomberg investigation showed the problem extended well beyond one company to some of the most recognized names in American grocery retail. You now know the specific percentages, the companies that were sued, and the 3 alternatives that guarantee you are getting actual cheese. What Parmesan are you currently using? Check the ingredient list for cellulose right now and tell me what you find in the comments.